Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Happy Black History Month! Again, I wanted to start off this video by saying a huge congratulations. I saw loads of pregnancy announcements on Valentine's Day, loads of engagement announcements on Valentine's Day, and I just wanted to take a moment to say congratulations to you. Love is in the air. There's a lot of celebration in the air within our Black community, and I am just so overjoyed. I love to see it. So once again, here we are with yet another Black history video, yet another for the culture video. And of course, it is another panel. However, this panel consists of who are Black college graduates and who are working in their career path. Field? I'm gonna just say field. The panel consists of a group of Black college graduates who are working in a job or a career rather in their field. Just like our last panel, we put a few questions in a bowl and we just pulled the questions out and answered them to the best of our ability. I would say, if you are transitioning to college, if you are in college and about to transition into the professional work setting, if you are fairly new to your field and you're still trying to figure out exactly what's going on, this video is for you. Continue watching and join us in this discussion. Please do not feel obligated to sit down and watch us the whole time. Turn us up, grab a snack, listen to us while you drive, listen to us while you clean, listen to us while you, twerk. Listen to us while you do your activities and join the conversation. Wait to see what you guys think. And this is Black and Professional. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another panel discussion. I would like our panelists to introduce themselves.
Okay. My name is Ashanti Jones. I work in legislative advocacy and social justice.
I'm Jelani Worrell. I work in tech for Tableau software.
Hi, my name is Aisha Stanley, and I am a teacher.
Hello, my name is Latifa Dubé. I work in accountant at an investment company.
Hi, my name is Brianna Jenkins, and I am a chemist for a pharmaceutical company. I'm also training to become a paramedic.
Hi, my name is Angel Jones, and I am a teacher as well. So we have some questions, and I'm just going to dive right in, and we can start this conversation. All right, so our first question is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your 16-year-old self?
I guess I'll start. I would probably say to take high school more seriously and really focus on some of my core class. Well, they were all core classes at that time, but like to take some of my classes more seriously so that way when it comes to college applications and things, I'm not necessarily relying just on SAT scores, but also on my grades.
I would say to really understand what my interests are. I did a lot of juggling around with my academic career. So like, I didn't necessarily change my major, but I did add a major at the last year of my undergrad, and actually went a completely different direction with my graduate school education. And I think that had to do with me not really thinking through everything that I really wanted to aspire to. Like, I had this idea of what I wanted to do, but I didn't really think it through as a career choice. And so I would definitely tell myself to really hone in on what my interests really are and what I really want to do instead of flying by night.
This was a deep one. Wait a minute. I would tell my 16-year-old self that talent that you have, that's your gift. Stick to it.
I would tell my 16-year-old self to not be afraid to not have a definitive plan, but to make sure whatever plan that I did have was mine. I think at that age, you're extremely impressionable, and you take on a lot of the ideas of your peers and the adults around you. And I did a lot of that and made a lot of decisions based on what I thought others would think was suitable or acceptable for me. It ended up having to backtrack. So I'd say to just follow your heart and, kind of just let the rest happen for you.
Lucifa, did you want to input on this question?
Yeah, so I guess I'll tell my 16-year-old self. I mean, I took school pretty seriously. I went to all-girls Catholic high school, and everything prepped us for college. So I was well prepped. I would just tell myself to loosen up a little bit. I applied to a lot of colleges and got accepted to them. So I think it would probably be just to like loosen up, have fun, live life, but stay serious still. Yeah.
Advice I would give to my 16-year-old self: boys will be there. Stop stressing about boys. Like my aunt used to say, books, two B's don't match. Books and boys don't go. And you really need to focus on your work. Boys will be there later. I feel like I was really distracted in high school, worried about being in the right clique and not really focused on what I should have been focused on. So that's my advice to myself. I am going to pick our next question. Our next question is number 6. What is the culture at your job? Is it predominantly white? And if so, how do they treat you? And if your culture is predominantly Black, do your white coworkers try to pretend to be woke?
I'd like to go first. So my current position, I haven't been in long at all. And it's most definitely predominantly white. In my specific cohort, I am not only the youngest, but I'm the only African American. And I would say it brought about a lot of conversations that needed to happen. I like to say culturally, because I believe even in a professional environment, there's a certain culture that should always be maintained. And there were just things that were never acknowledged, were never discussed or spoken on until I became a part of the team. And I think as my true millennial self, I not only provoked those conversations, but I made certain that they happened, and I took certain initiative, which shed a lot of light on, a lot of my leadership qualities, but it was definitely a risk on my part as well, because I was new, taking so much initiative, and that is sometimes frowned upon. I would say I'm well received by my white counterparts. I have yet to experience any turmoil or discrepancies between myself and my peers or coworkers. I think naturally, just when a hierarchy exists, sometimes depending on your personal professional styles, there can be some issues that arise, but I don't believe any of them have been race driven. I do think that with some changes amongst presence, I'd say. You know, if they were to hire some more young African American professionals, I definitely think that less conversations would need to be had specifically, because it would just be a part of the experience. And I think that's important in any professional environment, that there be a certain level of diversity, so that you don't constantly have to bring up why certain things need to happen or need to be said.
For me, it's actually the opposite. I am in a predominantly Black female-led organization, which I'm so excited to be a part of, because it's like we're seen in this space, right? And it's funny because we only have 4 white employees in the entire organization. And I wouldn't say that they are fake woke. I think that they are true advocates. I mean, we do come across, you know, when you are white and you're dealing with Black issues, we do come across a sense of like them being blind about certain things. Like, it's just like our communications, like we don't capitalize white when we talk about white people, right? We do capitalize Black. And so of course, one of our white coworkers was like, well, why do we, you know, I feel like everybody should be equal. You should, you know, either capitalize them both. And we're like, no, you have to understand, like, when we're trying to highlight and maximize on Black voices, we have to minimize white people in this space. And, you know, we have conversations like that, but I don't think that's being fake woke. I think that just comes with undoing white privilege, right? So, you know, and it's funny enough because our organization was founded by white Jews. But, you know, after they left and transitioned the organization, we're ran by people of color. We have been ever since. So our organization was founded in 1999 by white people. And they said, we have the money and the power to give you this organization. Do with it what you can, you know, to empower and change these things in New Jersey. So I think that that was really critical and cool too.
I guess I can go next. So where I work, there's a nice mix. Black men, well, no, I take that back. There aren't many Black men, especially not in elementary education. So a couple Black men, tons of Black women. And there's a mix between, no, I guess I never really thought about this. No, we only have a couple, one white male there, and tons of white women. Now the whole fake woke, I think it's a matter of, especially with my experience with them, trying too hard. I don't feel like it's necessarily a fake woke, but it's like, I hate the word ally, and I feel like 2020, the word ally just came like, oh, I don't want an ally. I want an advocate, like you said, Ashanti. So I don't think it's a matter, and within my workplace, of people being my white counterparts being fake woke. I just feel like they're trying hard. They want to be an advocate, especially with working with so many Black children, but they just don't know how. I feel like quite a few of them allow themselves to be vulnerable. So within that space, they can learn and they can grow. I just feel like, oh, she got flowers. I just feel like it's a matter of I just don't see the fake woke. They just need more exposure and encountering Black people who are willing to have those conversations with them. Like, okay, Aisha doesn't like the word ally, and this is why I don't like the word ally, because it's a buzzword. I need something more concrete. I need something more than an action. I need words behind it. As far as with my white counterparts, I create my own space, and I don't allow anyone to take that space away from me. So it works well.
Jelani, did you want to input on this question?
Yeah, sorry. So I would say my organization is predominantly white. They have been doing a lot better with hiring Black professionals since our merge with Salesforce. But I feel like the company culture is honestly great. Not gonna lie, I don't really feel like there's ever been a time where I felt uncomfortable with my white counterparts. Actually, most of the teams that I've been on, surprisingly, have had at least one or two other Black people on it. I don't know if that's, just because I was on the team or something. But I haven't really had any issues with being around Black people within the office. Well, when we were in office, and then also around the time of the social injustice and a lot of the movements and marches and things, I was able to get leadership involved, and we actually ended up joining the march. Well, they joined the march. I didn't necessarily go, but got them to go to the march here in DC, as well as just having a panel conversation with all Black employees, talking to the leadership about their issues within the organization, or just in general with what's going on in the media, just so they understand how we feel and we can be seen versus kind of shunning us or not feeling comfortable enough to come up to us and ask us how are things going, because I noticed like a lot of the managers didn't know how to necessarily go about speaking to us during that time. So just having that panel discussion allowed, like, kind of opened the door for more conversations to be had.
Okay, I'll go next. So prior to this job, so I just got a new job in September, but prior to this job, I was working at a sexual wellness company. There I was an accountant as well, and I was the only African-American person there. So it was a little difficult for me. I never felt like anyone was being, harsh, but I did feel like they didn't know. I worked with a lot of older people, so like they didn't understand like this new movement. They didn't understand. They were just stuck in their ways. So I had to express myself a few times to people, but at my new company, there's a pretty mixed, it's pretty mixed, so I don't feel that way, but I know that prior to me starting, they did have a lot of workshops. They had a lot of workshops, to basically, let people understand the movement and understand what's going on. I don't feel any, because sorry, I guess I had a little disconnection, but with this current job, I haven't felt anything or felt like, I am one of the youngest people.
Guess she's having some technical difficulties with like her connection. So at my job is predominantly Black as well. And I feel like it's lack of knowledge. Like some things that have been said, I know that they mean well, but it's kind of like, like, I got a Black, my friend Black too. I got a Black, but I know you're trying to make a connection. But I just feel like Ashanti said, it's kind of unlearning and kind of undoing that white privilege. It's innate. Like that's what they're taught from a young age. So they're trying, but when you know better, you do better. So I don't want to say it's our job to kind of undo that white privilege, but if they want to know, if they're willing, I feel like we can assist. I'm going to go to the next question. Well, we're not in school, sorry. Okay. Do you use anything you learned in high school? And if so, what?
Not at all. I think high school's a scam. No, I'm just saying. No, I mean, I really don't use anything that I've gotten from high school. I mean, I went to 3 different high schools in 3 different areas. I went to a predominantly white high school. Then I went to one that was a little bit of a mix. And I mean, I guess my 3rd high school was a bit of a mix too. And I just feel like it was a filler. I feel like those are filler years for us to be like cognitively ready to tackle, being a college student and navigating adulthood. But I don't, particularly recall anything that I really use other than like words of affirmation from like my professors, right? So like I did enjoy, providing, my writing samples to professors and, being in, and getting feedback on that and trying to understand kind of like what's my place in academia. I feel like maybe that's what high school gave me. But other than that, I don't feel like I really, because we don't travel, period by period in college the way we do in high school. We don't necessarily have a set lunch break. We don't really do things like that. Classes aren't every day in college. I just, I didn't really, nothing that I really did in college really prepared me for nothing I really did in high school really prepared me for a college experience. That's just my perspective, though.
The question, Angel, was, do I use anything that I learned in high school? I agree with Ashanti. I feel like high school didn't quite prepare me for what college was. It was like that extreme independence was like, whoa, wait a minute, versus, the 5 minutes between classes when you got to go to your locker and get your coat and get a snack. But I would say that high school, especially my senior year, I would say my junior and my senior year, it taught me that it's okay to remove yourself from people who are not going where you're going. Like, I definitely learned that my senior year in high school. I know that there were a lot of, they were talking about getting pregnant during prom, and I'm like, I'm ready to go to college. I'm not trying to have no babies and things like that. But so I think that was definitely a life lesson that I learned. Like, you can still be cool with people, but you don't necessarily have to bang with them and continue to attach yourself to them if they're not, you guys are going in different directions. So yeah, that's definitely something that I definitely use today in life.
I went to a performing arts high school, so my experience was a little bit different because even within our core art classes, I feel like one of the greatest things I took with me was how to constructively receive criticism. Being in the arts, pretty much either you had it or you didn't. So I feel like my teachers weren't afraid of telling us when we looked terrible, when we needed to get it together. And it definitely helped me establish a bit of a backbone that I don't think I had naturally. It forced me to kind of be better equipped to handle the things that would be said to me in the future in a professional environment and setting, and how to take it, how to, utilize it and help it further my development. I think at that age, you kind of just look at your superiors as like they're trying to boss me around, they're just trying to tell me what to do. But I think of a lot of things that were said to me, and I happen to have a lot of female teachers, especially older African American female teachers, and I think they trickled in a lot of their personal strength and courage into the things that they taught me. So I had a unique experience. Also, I would say anything in STEM, you can't say that you don't use it, because I had chemistry in high school, and so if I didn't have high school chemistry, I probably wouldn't know how to do organic chemistry, which means that I wouldn't have my job. So I can't say that I don't utilize those things. But in a general sense, I think it was more so character development that I took with me, not necessarily English, math, and because I still don't always comprehend things well. I just kind of take it and think what I want to think from it, and I always struggle with it. But character development, most definitely, I think I definitely took that with me. So I'd recommend, if you can trickle in the arts with your kids, do it for sure.
I don't think Johnny was here for this question. Johnny, the question was, do you use anything you learned in high school? And if so, what?
That's a hard question. Yeah, I would say I do. I was in AP Photo in high school, and it helped me, kind of led to my graphic design work. So I was able to start my own business and do graphic design for people, like create websites, logos, things along those lines. And it basically stemmed from the ability to use Photoshop within that AP Photo class. So yeah, that's probably the only class that kind of still utilize to this day?
I don't think I use anything that I learned academic wise, but more so character building about myself. I think high school was when I kind of tapped more into my independence and trying to do things for myself. Like with college, I tried to, research colleges on my own, and it prepared me for adulthood. That's the only aspect of high school that I use, though. High school is a scam, definitely. Why do I need gym to graduate? I don't understand. Just let me be fat.
Angel, before you go to the next question, it's going to log us out. So why don't we all log out and log back in? You can merge videos because it's going to cut us off.
Okay. Welcome back. We had a little technical difficulties, lost the people, but we are back and we are ready to go. Next question. Number 4. Do you negotiate salaries? And if so, what are your do's and don'ts?
I'm still off mute, so I guess I'll go. So this is actually really funny because I feel like one of the first real conversations I had about this was with Angel. We know each other from a previous position. And I have a very dominant and like courageous spirit about me regularly. But for whatever reason, when it comes to the interviews, when it comes to like the money talk, I had just a really like timid spirit when it came to those things. And I think it was just intimidation. I think I didn't have control over the situation because I didn't know how to negotiate a salary. I think that's really what it was. And so I made a decision after, like Angel pretty much told me to boss up, because we were having a conversation, and I was on a panel at the time, and I told her that it came about that, they said you should discuss with your coworkers how much you all make, especially when you all have the same roles and positions, because, there's power in numbers. And so they're like, if you guys talk about it, then the company is almost forced to accommodate you all in an equal manner. And some people, they'll say like, oh, shy away from that. Don't tell anyone how much you make. Don't say this. But really, if you all talk about it, then it's kind of like, okay, there's no reason why this person makes any more than me, or, you have to explain to me why and justify it essentially. And we kind of did that, and things kind of went left, and we all ended up leaving the company. But it definitely gave me the courage I needed moving forward to have that conversation. And I have not been intimidated since then. I'm telling you, I go in there, and even when they say, do you have any additional questions? As a matter of fact, I do. And whatever it is they put on the table, always shoot as high as you can possibly go. The worst thing they can say is no. You kind of work your way down from there. But your numbers should be astronomical when you initially ask, because you never know. They might say yes and accommodate you, but they might say no. And then you kind of just work your way down. I definitely say try to talk to those who possess leadership qualities, who possess a certain level of courage when it comes to commanding respect, and even when talking to a superior, because it's going to be important, especially if you are a female in general, but particularly if you are an African-American female. It is going to be essential that you understand how to do this, because they will lowball you every single time.
Oh, great, I shot. Oh, in education, it's kind of different. So like when I've worked hourly jobs, I've definitely negotiated. I went high. And I would say my first teaching position, I went high and they went high with me. It's like, oh, bet, this is amazing. But usually with teaching, they go by your years of experience, your degree levels. So like I have 2 master's degrees. So one of the districts that I worked at before, they calculated my level of experience and my level of education. That's how we got it. We got to the figure. Now, my current position, when I was applying, and one of the online interview questions was, how much would you prefer for a salary? I went real high, and they went higher, and I was like, oh, maybe I should have went a little higher when. So that was kind of exciting, but that was my first time in salary wise experiencing the whole negotiating with the salary, and I'm quite pleased. So I've never, like Brianna said, I don't have any intimidation where I'm my number one advocate. I'm always going to advocate for myself. I don't need anyone to advocate for me. It's nice, but I'm always going to advocate for myself.
So I'm in my career now for 3 years. So I'm really new to having a salaried career. I got my first salary paying job a month before I graduated my master's. Now, by stroke of luck, there was this young lady who from a completely different part of Jersey. We went to Columbia together for our master's program. We're graduating at the same time. Never met her. Just so happened that we started, and when I got my offer, I was anticipating about $13,000 less than what they offered me. So of course I was like, oh, absolutely, I accept, because I felt like I did great. So now I get into the job now, and this young lady who I've grabbed, you're graduating with me next month. And she's like, yeah. And so we were talking, she was like, this is a really good paying job. And I was like, yeah. And mind you, I was in a director role and she was not. And she's like, yeah, girl, they paying me such and such. And I said, what? That's like $7,000 more than what I'm making. And she was like, oh, I negotiated. And from that, I was like, I wasn't intimidated to negotiate. I think I just lowballed and devalued myself on the front end, because I came in thinking I was going to be making $13,000 less than what the offer was. And so I just jumped on it, not realizing that there was potential there to grow and to get more money. And so I would definitely say, yes, negotiate. When I transitioned to a different role, I definitely negotiated. Ended up making more than what I asked for, because I was like, this is not happening to me again. But I definitely say, if it's a new job, I definitely speak to my previous salary and also my expectations of the role. I also ask, but if I'm in the job already and I'm asking for a raise, 9 times out of 10, I'm also asking for a promotion, which is what I did in my previous role. And so I prepare a defense before I go in there, talking about my deliverables, my contribution to the success of the organization, and speak to how I am already operating in that other role and why I deserve the salary. And so that happened. And, I got a raise in my previous role too, which, once I transitioned to my new role, I was able to speak to that and be able to even get a bump. So I say, just value yourself, understand what you're worth, and always go high.
You know what, Ashanti, I feel like I know I wasn't taught that. I wasn't taught the importance of having those type of conversations. You get a job, you're grateful that you got your job, and you keep it moving. So I feel like I was just thinking about it just now, that's something that I'm definitely going to instill within my children. No, your salary, your livelihood, that's something that you can have a discussion about. You don't necessarily have to take what they give you.
So, like Rihanna shared, we met at work, and I want to say that was my first salary job that I had with Rihanna. And when they gave me the salary, I'd never had a salary before. So I'm like, yes. But then when the checks started coming, I was like, wait, what is this? And then they taking the checks in. And I don't know, I have a big mouth. I'm naturally talkative. So I started talking to the people who were sitting next to me. And, it was a guy. The person that sat right next to me, he was a male. He was a Hispanic male. And I asked him how much he made. And he told me we're around the same age. And I'm like, he makes more than me. But we have the same level of experience, same degree. Okay. Then I asked someone else how much they made, and she was white. And she made more than him, which made more than me, but we were doing the same thing. So I'm like, hold on. Okay. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I did get a little courage. And I went and I asked for a raise. I got one, but it was kind of like to shut me up. Like, okay, let me give this little girl a little bit more money. Because once again, you know, them saying, okay, I'm going to give you $2,500 more dollars. What is that over the span of a year? But I would say that did give me the courage to now go forward in different arenas and ask for more, ask for my worth. I saw someone post like the other day, she said, you know, just ask your job for more money. If you don't make enough, just ask your job for more money. And I was like, oh, people do that? They just ask their job for more money. So you definitely can negotiate your salary. But like Ashanti said, make sure you have a case. Make sure you're printing out your emails every time somebody gives you great feedback, so that when you're going there, you're able to say, okay, this is why I deserve it, not mother may I. Next question. This is so fun. I love these discussions. Do you love your job, or are you just doing it for the money?
I love my job. I like, words can't really express how much I love my job. Like, teaching is my everything. And one thing, like, I'm going to say how I feel. They might still get on my nerves, the adults. I'm still going to express that, but also knowing that I'm not there for the adults, I'm there for the children that I serve. I'm there for the children within the community. So aside from, again, adults can get on your nerves. So aside from that, like, I told my school leader that this is my forever school. The community that we serve, like, I will be here forever, forever, forever. And, you know, there may be a time where I am the principal of that school, but I don't see myself going anywhere.
So I don't love my job. I'm not there for the money. I don't know that I have ever had a job where I was there for the money. I thrive off of passion. So I don't think that I would ever be putting my best foot forward if I was severely miserable. I've never followed the notion of like, you gotta pay the bills, so you gotta have a job. I'm not sure how I've conducted myself in that manner. But I will say that I am learning a lot from the role that I'm in, because I graduated to a leadership role pretty rapidly in this position. And I'm using a lot of the skills that I acquired in college. So I love that part of it. But STEM can be a bit taxing at times. And I'm in cancer research, which is a really controversial field. I'm constantly, you know, I feel like having a battle with like my morale and, you know, things like that. But I will say that the only reason I don't think I love my job is because I feel like I'm at a pinnacle in this field in general. I feel like I have done what I set out to do, and now I'm ready to move forward. That's why I'm training to become a paramedic. I'm just ready to be more hands-on. It'll probably be something different from there. Like I said, I thrive off passion, and my passion is well-driven, but it changes. You know, I was in social work before, and I've done a lot of different things, but whatever it is that I'm doing it well because it's passion-driven, and I actually care. Whether the money is there or not, I'm going to give everything in me, and I'm going to be dedicated to it. And when I know that that is no longer there, I leave and I excuse myself. I'll never be one of those people where you're like, why do you even have this? You ever encounter someone and you're like, what made you choose the job? Because you clearly hate it, and you clearly hate the people that you have to encounter regularly. I've never really understood that. I understand you got to pay the bills, but pay the bills in the way in which you're not ruining the days of other, and your misery is not running over. So yeah, I'm definitely looking for a change of pace simply because I reached the pinnacle. But love is cool.
I mean, I definitely love my job, and my criteria for loving my job is the fact that I won't just stop showing up. I mean, I've done that before. Like, Angel knows this. Every job I've ever had up until 2018, when I was tired of that job, they thought I was dead because I just stopped showing. It wasn't no letter, wasn't no phone call, wasn't no email. It was, I woke up today and the check isn't worth it, right? And so I feel like I do love my job because I never feel that way, but it also does help. The money does help because I won't, I am in a place where I love it, but I also love the checks and I'm able to pay my bills and I'm able to, invest and build, wealth for me and my family. But I think I'm primarily there because I love it. And I think if my salary was to change, I'd probably still be in this space because I love this space. I found where I'm going to, exist for the rest of my professional career. At this particular office, I don't know, but in this field, absolutely. And don't try that at home, kids. Please send a letter. You never know when you might need a reference. Send an email, make a phone call. Don't just stop showing up.
Watch how hype Angel with me.
So millennial. Definitely. I have seen Brianna come in and say effective, talk about a letter. Yeah, she give a letter, but effective immediately today, right now, not to the end of business. I'm leaving now. For me, I love my job. I love kids and they love me. Everywhere I go, they find me and I find them. And Aisha said this to me the other day and I said she was crazy, but thinking about it, if I won the lottery today or tomorrow, I would still teach. I love my kids. I definitely do not do it for the money. The money helps. Thank you for the money. I'm not saying I don't want to check, but I definitely love my kids. And the fact that my class changes every year, I don't think I'll ever get bored. It's like when a kid learns something, that feeling is unmatched. And I always, when they get that light bulb, it's just like, oh my gosh, I taught that to you. And I always want to experience that feeling. So I'm a teacher. That's what I am. And I'm going to be a teacher forever until maybe I'm a principal. And then.
If I were to hit the lottery, like tonight, I would still be, this is my 12th year teaching. So 12 and a half years. I can't see myself doing anything else other than being in the classroom right now.
Y'all got that. If I won the lottery, if I won the lottery, I'm not doing a job that is going to tell me like you have to be here these days. Like I need to be able to casually stroll in if I'm feeling up to it. I won the lottery. That's chalk. Y'all got that. That is dedication. Keep this recording so that when y'all ask me y'all next raise, they can see this because this is it right here. I got passion for sure, but I won that lottery. No, thank you. No, ma'am.
I mean, like I would buy curriculum for the school. I'm sorry, Shanti.
No, go ahead.
I would buy curriculum for the school. So like every school would have more, every classroom would have more books. Like I would invest within that. Like I'm definitely driven, like you were saying, Brianna, driven by passion. I'm driven by passion. The coins do help. I'm driven. I could teach a wall. Like sometimes I am teaching a wall because everyone's on Zoom and sometimes you get dead silent. But like teaching is definitely everything to me.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between a job and a career, right? So like when you have a career, it's something that you're invested in, and it's not so easy to like walk away, especially when you love it. So I think Brianna, when you get to that place where you like, I love doing this, yeah, you'll be more inclined to show up on time.
I sure hope so, but I won that lottery. They're gonna have to excuse me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So our next question. Number 5. Christopher, do you think your white colleagues with less experience make more than you?
I'm off mute. So I do this all the time, even at work. So no, actually. I make more than them. And you want to know how I know? Because I talk about it, and I have made a habit of talking about it. I think I have a way about me that brings comfort to most. So, whereas that can be a very uncomfortable conversation to have someone, or even just initially it being brought up because it's stigmatized to discuss your salaries with your counterparts at work. A lot of people are like, why? But I make it very comfortable. And I've had conversations with first, the other researchers that I was working with when I was in that role. I had conversations with them. We talked about our own, university experiences and how that differed. We talked about salaries. And then when I started leading my particular group, I had conversations with the other leaders, and it seems that I'm actually making the most, which is kind of crazy to me when I think about it. But it's one, because I negotiated, and I was fully prepared to just completely walk away from the position if they weren't going to give me what I thought I was deserving of. But also, all of them, in finding out that I made the most, felt that I was deserving of it. They felt that I was the most well equipped for the position, and that the reason I was promoted so soon and so early in my role was because of how dedicated I was when I was in a lower position. So even in finding out, sometimes they may feel like, oh, we got to go to the boss because we need to be making that. But they all felt like, you make it because you truly deserve it. And there's a lot that you contribute to the company. I do things outside of my role that no one asked me to do, simply because I just know it needs to be done. And so, I can say that. And when I tell y'all, that makes me so proud. Like, yes, I'm the only one out here that looks like me in this role, and I'm making the most. And it feels so darn good. So good.
For me, I would say at my current job, no. I'm the second youngest person there, so by default, I have the second least experience. All of my white colleagues are way older than me, have been in their career a while, so I wouldn't even try to compare my salary to theirs, and we all operate in different capacities as well. But I would say, like in a previous role, I was in a position where not my white colleagues, but my male colleagues were making more money than me. And how I figured that out was, like I said, I was in a director's role. There was a young man who on our first day of work in 2018, we started on the same day, but I was his supervisor. He was there for a year and he left, right? He quit. He said, I'm done with this. I quit. Then he came back, was rehired with a promotion to my previous role. And so that was like a $15,000 bump for him. And even though I got a promotion, it was lateral. It was a promotion with the same salary, but just a different title. And so I said, how is it possible that he and I are making this? I've been here, and it's like, if I had not had that role, there would not have been a conversation to be had, because they would never have said, or no one would have advocated for me and said, hey, y'all need to give her a promotion because, one, loyalty, I've been here for the 2 years. Meanwhile, this guy quit, found another job, didn't like it, and then came back. And then, came back with a promotion, was just wrong to me. And, I made friends with HR. And so they weren't telling me people's salaries themselves, but I was in a position where I can ask, what is the range for, certain positions and certain roles? And that's how I got to realize and understand that there were some of my employees who I was managing were literally making pennies, and they did just as much work as me. And so that was actually, it allowed me to be able to advocate for them and say, you actually are keeping this is an organization dedicated to ending poverty, but you have people from this community who are working for you that you're paying pennies. And so, that's part of the reason why I ended up leaving that organization. But I definitely did find that like men were making more or the same amount of money with me with less experience and less sense of loyalty and work ethic. And that was just not okay. But I think generally we have an issue with, the wage gap is real. The gender and race wage gap is very real. Thankfully, I haven't experienced it to, that extent where I'm like, impoverished by it. But I definitely do think that think that is real, and I'm grateful that I'm not experiencing that in my current role.
I've had a couple conversations, but it was with conversations with teachers who, white teachers who have been teaching for a less amount of years than I have. So it's like really no comparison where, in the education system it goes by the levels and everything like that. No, I don't think they make more than me. I just look kind of cocky when I said that. I kind of cocked my head to the side. What? I didn't mean that though, but I'm just saying, nah, I don't think they make more than me.
I'm kind of new to my field, honestly. So in this certain situation, no, I don't feel like they make more than me. But in the past, yes. I feel like particularly white men, Black men, Hispanic men, they're making more. And it's kind of why, I don't know, especially considering the fact that African American women are the most educated people in the country, but we'll let them live. So right now, no, they don't make more than me. And it feels good. It feels good to feel equal and to feel seen and to feel valued. We're doing the same work. We should be getting the same pay. Next question. PWI or HBCU? Why?
Maybe an unpopular opinion, but PWI. I mean, I say that because I like interrupting white spaces. It brings me joy. I mean, I feel like it's easy to love yourself and feel affirmed in Black spaces. I feel like, it's easy to, really, navigate that space. I don't feel like it challenges you in the way socially that it does at a PWI. I mean, I view my presence in white spaces as an act of resistance. And I mean, that's just my core being. It's my core being, right? Affirmative action, they like to say that that's why you got into Columbia. I'm like, no, affirmative action helps white people. It helps white women. White women benefit from affirmative action at higher rates than any other race or sex, right? And so I'm like, I use that truth to my advantage in white spaces. It makes them uncomfortable. And I mean, although I do love the concept of HBCUs, I mean, there's parts of me that wish that, I did go because it would have been like, super Blackness. But, I work in social justice. My job is equity, and I choose to use my existence to pursue equity in spaces. So I like to make sure that there is a Black voice and a Black experience being represented in those spaces. And I choose to break down, barriers by existing in predominantly white spaces. So I will always choose a PWI. My undergrad was a PWI. That wasn't by choice. It definitely was not. I just got into a college. I mean, my grades were terrible in high school. Like I said, I didn't take it seriously. I graduated by the skin of my teeth, and I just chose a school that accepted me. But going to Columbia for my graduate education was definitely a strategic choice, especially experiencing social work. And we're actually able to make some really pivotal changes in the Columbia space. And you would think, oh, Columbia is an Ivy League school. Of course they're progressive. And it's like, nah, I was a Black student in that space. And we were in class talking about reverse racism as it was a real concept, right? We were in class talking about, really catering to white people about how using the guise of like cultural competence to talk about white privilege. And I'm like, that we cannot, diversity, equity, and inclusion conversations our way through racism. We have to address it, make it uncomfortable. And I felt like I needed to be in that space at that time. And so I will always advocate for Black kids who are affirmed in their Blackness to go to a PWI.
So Shanti and I are same type time. All the Philly coming out same type time. I went to the Pennsylvania State University, and I would do it all over again, 10 times over. 40,000 students at a time, a little trickle of pepper up in a thing full of salt. And I agree. I feel like I enjoyed taking up space. I enjoyed being in classrooms with 800 students and it being seldom that I saw someone that looked like me. But then we have these really tough discussions, and these 755 other white kids are forced to hear our opinions, to hear our perspectives, and not only to just hear it, but to go even a step further and seek understanding. And I think that's what happens because, you know, at this point, it's like you think about universities, like you're getting points for participation, and it's a part of your grade to raise your hand, ask questions, go deeper. And especially during the time in which I was in my undergrad, you know, the brutalizing of African Americans at the hands of police, that was a constant. So these conversations were coming about even in settings in my organic chemistry labs. We were having these conversations. They had multicultural centers that were added to the university that happened around the time I was there that they didn't have before. And those things wouldn't have been happening if Black students like myself wouldn't have obliged and participating in these universities. I definitely feel like if we all, as African Americans, made the decisions to say, you know, forget these other schools, we're just going to go to HBCUs, diversity doesn't happen. And there is no representation. Like, how do you say as a PWI, we have an African American history program, but we don't have any African Americans here to, you know, generate that? It makes no sense. So I believe that I encourage it. I think that there is power in numbers, and the more of us there are, the more diverse it becomes. And no, it's not going to be at HBCU. It's not going to be a Black university or college historically, but it can definitely take strides and move in the right direction towards diversifying the world. You think about, we're going to get degrees so that we can become professionals on the other side of this. So we're becoming doctors and lawyers and teachers and individuals who will cater to the youth. And I think it's important that our perception or reality, which we gain a lot of in our, you know, undergrad years, that's when we're adulting for the first time, is not so role stricken that you don't just in your head, you're used to just being around your people and your kind, not having to have these conversations, not having to be worried about the N-word being used while you're walking through campus to class, and having to stop and have a conversation about why that is not okay. And if it was deemed okay, it's not okay now, or no longer shall be. It's not going to happen when everybody has that same respect for one another. So diversity is necessary for them, but it's very much necessary for us as well. We got to take up space. We have to be present. We have to show up and show out and force them to understand that we are a force to be reckoned with, and we're not going anywhere. So it's PWI to the death of me. We are Penn State. You already know.
I've experienced both. I went to VUU for 2 years after college. After high school, and that was also a culture shock. So like, even going to, you know, Simon Gratz High School, 99.8% African American, and I think I was expecting something different, and it was just a shock. Just comparing it, because growing up in Philly, I'm used to seeing Temple and LaSalle. So just the conditions of the dorms and the conditions of the campus, I was expecting a little something different. But going to a HBCU grew me. I met my best friend of a million years there. It gave me exposure to people from different places. People from Florida, like the New Orleans, like DC, things that I wasn't privy to growing up in Philly. So it definitely like grew me culturally wise. And then I decided to transfer to Temple. Another culture shock. I said, what in the heck is this? Like, now I'm in a class where VUU felt like, you know, high school part 2. It's like 400 people, it felt like, in this lab. And for me, it wasn't a matter of knowing who I was as a Black woman. It was, I wasn't validated. I guess I was, but I didn't take that into consideration. Like in high school, I was validated as far as like, Aisha, you're smart, you got this, you can do this. But I think when I got to Temple, I lost all of that. Like I went and thought about the stereotypes. Well, they say Asians, are this and that, and these white people come from here and their parents are paying. I'm struggling. It was scholarships that got me in college. Maybe they have their parents. It was my own misconceptions of what it was. And then I had to think about it. They broke too. Just because they look different from you don't mean that they not the same as you. So like it was some classes in the beginning, I would say my sophomore year, part 2, because also HBCU credits do not always transfer over. So that was something that I learned too. Once I realized that these people not smarter than me, these people aren't better than me, like I got it going on, that's when I was able to stand firm, like started to get those A's versus opting out of going to class because I felt uncomfortable in that space. I began to own that space, and especially in my education classes, whereas these young white girls, you have intentions on teaching in North Philadelphia, but you don't know the importance of an after-school program. You don't know the importance of school serving breakfast in the morning. Like, you think that that's a luxury? Nah, that's an important accommodation that these students need. These after-school programs are something that they, this may be this is the meal that they need. So instead of like interrupting those spaces where, interrupting those spaces where to teach these young white teachers who are coming to teach our children that, no, I don't need you to show any pity. I need you to learn what you need to learn to be able to accommodate and to be able to show up and to be able to educate. So I feel like it's a matter of preference. Like, I don't care which one my child teaches. Goes to, it depends on their, whatever their field, a career study that they want to go into. So I don't think I really have a preference.
For me, I love my H in front of my B. I love my B in front of my C. I love my C in front of my U. I love my HBCU. Why? For me, my mother did a great job of making sure that I was in diverse situations growing up. So growing up, it was never, I was in a classroom with a whole bunch of people that looked like myself. Growing up, it was like equal. It was a quarter. 25% Black, 25% white. We had Asians, we had Hispanics. And I'm also Caribbean, and I was raised by my Caribbean mother. So I identified primarily with my Caribbean heritage. It wasn't until I went to a HBCU that I tapped into my African Americanness. And I know that's not a thing, and I loved it. And just knowing, like, there was a time where we couldn't go there. We couldn't go there. They didn't want us in their space then. So I kind of feel like, why do you want me now? Like, so that's why I chose to go to not one, but 2 HBCUs. And I see that our time is winding down. This was an amazing conversation, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you guys.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye.
Wow, that was just another amazing, enlightening conversation. I want to say thank you to all my panelists and everyone who participated. The technical difficulties were insane, but such is the world that we live in now in 2021, Miss Shrona epidemic time frame. But we made it do what it do, and we pulled through, and we had an amazing video. I hope that you were able to get some tips and gems from this conversation. If you like this video and you would like to see more videos like this and you would like to continue this conversation, why don't you go ahead and comment down below, hit that thumbs up button, and while you're at it, you might as well go ahead and subscribe and hit that little bell so you can get a notification every time I upload. I'll be back next week. I promise. Until next time, be safe, drink your water, mind your business, and enjoy. What do we have, like 12 days left of our month? Like, History Month needs to be all year. And so next time, why did I do that? Pride?